Ну что ж, здравствуйте. Я новый летсплейщик этого ютуба. Меня зовут Стелс. И сегодня я начну проходить The Stanley Parable. Игра очень интересная, вам должна понравиться. Ну что ж, начнем. Долгая загрузка. Окей.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Окей. Ну что ж.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Короче, я знаю, что в этой игре очень много концовок. Я сначала вам покажу самую обычную. Будем слушать просто диктора. Так, окей. Сколько же здесь комнат? Капец.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Окей. Так. Почему за нами закрываются двери? Их нельзя открыть. Печально.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Окей. О, кладовка. Круто.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Я не хочу возвращаться на правильный путь. Мне тут хорошо.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow. Just an empty broom closet.
Окей,
No
ладно.
reason to still be here.
Чё, внизу?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to
Ой.
his boss's office.
А я хочу вниз. Окей, ладно. Значит, сначала концовка нормальная. Как обещал. Потом туда сходим. Почему эта дверь не закрывается? Закрылась. Почему ничего не дают открыть?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held
Я
from
стою
him?
на портфеле.
What
Круто.
he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing
Действительно,
random
как?
buttons on the keypad,
Как он это
Stanley happened
сделал?
to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He
Окей.
stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Сюда? Да? Да? Сюда? Поехали. Ну, хоть загрузки быстрыми стали.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Окей, это будет третья концовка. Да, вроде там и концовки нет, точно не помню. А-ля-ля-ля-ля.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this
Колизей
place
будущего.
hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Так, сейчас бы залипание клавиш не
Now the
случилось.
monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. Lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Нас обманывали.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Откуда он приехал
No.
вообще?
He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Куда? Ага.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place.
Нормально.
And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human
А
life.
чё тут?
For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
А, 4. Так. Ну что ж, это что такое? Он не включается. Окей. Нам туда? Окей.
And when at last he found the source,
Блин. Я ж вздрогнул. И что? Так резко все вырубилось.
and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized...
Так я могу ходить?
For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was
Я случайно,
perhaps
извините, в
the
горле
only
першит.
thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation,
Как же красиво
immense
все-таки.
possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Без всякой команды. Вот что надо было добавить. И потом, не ругайте меня в комментариях, если все-таки будете, хотя бы у вас какая-то идея на это пошла. Просто то, что я говорю, когда говорит он. Если мне не говорить, когда говорит он, то просто я буду молчать все видео. Тогда зачем мне микрофон? Не, пошел, я пойду направо.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate,
Я стою на какой-то бумажке.
Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Нет! Я не пойду туда. Кстати, концовка, в которой вы... Вторая концовка, где если нажать «Он», то я вам покажу ее в следующей серии, просто мне сейчас тупо лень туда переться. Слишком долго. Кстати, я хочу попробовать кое-что, что я ни разу не пробовал. Можно ли это вообще сделать? Вон, та вот открытая дверь, в нее можно попасть, но я не знаю, можно ли точно. Так, я отсюда прыгну. Уи! Он не ожидал.
I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something.
Я не хочу видеть что-то прекрасное.
Let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Давай, доказывай.
Now listen carefully, this is important.
О, вспомнил. Сейчас бы только игра не вылетела. Тут очень классная концовка. Очень классная.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
А я хочу в синюю.